Okay, so my dog's gonna start barking as soon as I press record, but that's okay. We're gonna press through anyway. What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. I hope all is well with you. He's just so funny. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, guys. We're going to talk about Jaleel White. Jaleel White played Steve Urkel on a little show called Family Matters from 1989 to 1998 back in the day. Yeah, that was a pretty long run. Well, anyway, Jaleel White has resurfaced because he is publishing a book of his memoirs. He's reflecting on his time on that iconic show. And also, he's starring in the latest Star Wars show, The Skeleton Crew. So, he's visible again. And so he's talking, and he should be talking. I think it's a good thing that people get to tell their own stories instead of what other people made of them or talked about them behind their back or whatever. So you got Jaleel White, and he's making some statements, and he ended up ruffling a few feathers. But my question is he wrong in his observation and what he's saying? So I'm going to read a little bit of this article here, including his comments, and I'm going to get your opinion. You guys feel free to let me know what you think about what Jaleel White is saying here regarding his legacy, the legacy of his show Family Matters, which I think is very poetic in this day and times because now we say Black Lives Matter, but back then they said Family Matters. And I think that's very significant. Family matters, not just matters of the family, but family matters. All right, so let's get into this. And I'm going to read this here, and the headline goes, "Did I do that?" Jaleel White is facing a ton of backlash for his comments about black people and their opinions on family matters. He's talking about where does family matters fall in the legacy of black entertainment. Okay, so we're going to move on, and it says here, Family Matters star Jaleel White shared why he believes the show ranks low for black people when they're discussing their favorite shows, and it has a lot of people upset. He says the show ranks low. Do you think that's true? I mean, when people think about Family Matters, do you think that for black people in the black community, do you think that we value this show, or we're really kind of like, whatever, it doesn't even come up. But let's get into what Jaleel had to say. Jaleel starred as a quirky and clumsy nerd named Steve Urkel, as well as a smooth-talking alter ego character named Stefan Urkel on the hit family sitcom from 1989 to 1998. It followed the Winslows, a middle-class black family living in Chicago, which included the father, husband Carl, a Chi-Town police officer, the mom, wife, Harriet, an elevator operator, and their two children, Laura and Eddie. Didn't they have three children? Yo, this has got to be the biggest mystery ever in the history of sitcoms. Never mind Steve Urkel. Like, what happened to that little girl? I don't even know what her name was, but they have three children. I swear to you guys, this is not a Mandela effect thing. I know they had three children. Guys, if you know they had three children, please let me know. I'm not crazy here, but they're claiming here they only had two children, Laura and Eddie, as well as a few other close family members. Now, okay, they have a picture in the article here, and there's the little girl. She's right there. I'm going to put it in the thumbnail, damn it. I think that was their daughter, right? Urkel's character was supposed to appear in only one episode. Did you guys know that? Just one episode. But he immediately won fans over and was turned into a main cast member. Dude, he turned into the cast member. He took over that show. It's just funny that the show was called Family Matters, and he wasn't even a member of the family. But I would say, looking back now, over 20 years later, that more people remember the breakout character of Steve Urkel than they do the show that he was actually on. What do you guys think about that? I think so. Okay. Last month, while promoting his new memoir, Growing Up Urkel, the actor held a talk at the Wilmington Public Library in Delaware, where he opened up about what it was like playing the iconic role, the impact that it had in society, and how he believes the show is perceived in the so-called black community. And he says, being a part of... Oh, no, let me do that. I'm not going to do that. Being a part of the TGIF brand, which, by the way, was what they called that block of programming of shows back then on ABC. They called it TGIF. I think it was Thank Goodness It's Friday. So they showed Family Matters, along with another show. I think it was called Step by Step. It was kind of like an updated Brady Bunch kind of thing, starring Bobby Ewing from Dallas, whatever. So anyway, it was part of that. It was very wholesome. It was clean humor and all that. But he says being a part of the TGIF brand sometimes makes you feel like you don't completely belong in the pantheon of blackness, Jaleel said. You know, blackness has been treated as a very monolithic experience in entertainment. What do you guys think? Do you think that's true, that blackness is seen as a very monolithic thing? This is something that you hear me and my compadres talk about in the Dark Council all the time. We talk about this all the time. Are black people a monolith? According to Hollywood, we are, so much, in fact, that nobody likes to pay attention to our opinion on this, even though you have a whole industry. I'm talking about Hollywood, YouTubers, a whole industry of everybody talking about us, but for some reason, nobody tunes in to listen to us. It's like I said in my past videos. I said when they want my opinion, they'll give it to me. They don't care what we think. You know, it's the same thing. You know, Joe Biden felt like he could tell us who to vote for. We saw Barack Obama do that. It's just the way it is. We are supposed to be monolithic. So I don't see the lies. There's no lies detected in what Jaleel White is saying there. Blackness has been treated as a very monolithic experience in Hollywood. And he goes on to say, and this is something that speaks to something I've been talking about for years. He goes on to say, if it's not a hood story, it's not a black story. And sometimes I feel left out of that. If there's ever a poll and they say, what are your favorite black shows? If Martin is in there, or Living Single, or any of those shows, I already know we're, Family Matters, coming in last. Now, I think this is where he got in trouble because, of course, Martin, Living Single, you know, shows like that, they weren't necessarily hood shows. I think what he's trying to say is that these shows typically leaned into their black identity. You know what I mean? Whereas Family Matters, it was just a show. It was a predominantly black show, but it wasn't necessarily a black show. That TGIF thing that I was talking about, it was about wholesome entertainment. Okay, Family Matters was a black show, like Cheers was a white show. You know what I mean? Like Seinfeld was a white/Jewish show. You know what I mean? Like Friends was a white show. You know, it was just a show. That's what Family Matters was. And in some ways, that would be a little bit more progressive than any of the other shows that we see. Because, of course, the objective is to be a human experience. When you're telling these stories, it's supposed to be as relatable as possible to the largest audience possible. Now, I'm sure that I'm going to get a lot of comments in the comment section of people who might have grown up at that time, whether they're white, whether they're Latino, whether they're Indian, whether they're Asian, who would say, yes, we loved Family Matters. Yes, we loved Steve Urkel. You know, this is what they related to. They related to Family Matters. They related to a central theme of family. You know, a central theme of nerdness in Steve Urkel's case. All right, so he's talking about that, right? So it says here, in comparison, he added that if there were a general ranking of family shows and Martin wasn't included, then all of a sudden, Family Matters would then rank really high. Jaleel said that was an interesting reflection of how black people view themselves. And of course, you guys know that I've been making this observation for a while, where I've been saying that we have to, as black people, challenge ourselves to see ourselves as more than just the hood, even more than just black. I say we have to lead with our humanity. Yes, we can be proud to be black. We can be proud to be who we are as we perceive it to be. But remember, as I said before, a lot of people, especially these days, think that they can define what black is, and it isn't always favorable. So you can feel good about yourself as a black girl magician. You can feel good about yourself as a black king and all that stuff. But for everyone who feels that way, there's other people who feel that black people are the scum of the earth. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, these people wear uniforms. You know, these people are in political offices. They are decision makers. You know what I mean? So it behooves us to some degree to lead with our humanity, with our human identity. You know, this is what I'm talking about. We've been faced with this for a long time. I remember growing up hip hop. You know what I mean? It's like I loved hip hop. I was into hip hop. I grew up in a middle class family. My father was a cop, much like Carl Winslow. You know what I mean? I ran in the streets later on in life when I chose to because I was trying to do this hip hop thing and everything. But for the most part, I was grounded in family values. You know what I mean? But as I was growing up through hip hop, I noticed that there was this deliberate push to make hip hop more hood, more dirty, more grimy. And at the time, I remember saying, man, if we get this dirty and grimy, we're never going to get out of this gutter. You know what I mean? And they used to say that in hip hop too. Straight out the gutter, straight out the hood, straight out the slums, straight out the ghetto. You know what I mean? And that was supposed to be what hip hop was. Never mind the fact that I grew up with De La Soul. I grew up with Tribe Called Quest. I grew up with, it was well rounded. You know what I mean? I wasn't just some kid stuck in the hood somewhere. You know what I mean? So I knew that it was a trap. And today, this is the reason why they will tell you that when you ask people, well, who are your greatest, who's the greatest MCs? They'll always say, and I think it's so boring, they always say, Big or Tupac, Notorious B.I.G. or Tupac. You know what I mean? Never mind all of the incredible lyricists, the incredible hip hop artists who span the entire landscape of hip hop from the hood to middle class to upper class. You know what I mean? Even Will Smith, with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, as rich as that was in family values, remember, he had to come up out of Philly. He had to come up out of the hood. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's what he did. He came out of it. But it's the being stuck there. It's the identifying with it. It's the believing that this is the best you can be. That's the part that trips us up. And we need to have these positive images. You know what I mean? We absolutely do. Like a lot of people don't know with the Cosby Show, clearly that was about black excellence. You had a doctor, you had a lawyer for your parents and everything, a different world. I always like to talk about a different world. When a different world was on, enrollment in colleges skyrocketed. It went up something like 25% in the HBCUs. And I think it was like 15% overall, college enrollment happened. Kids, they need to see these things. As they say, seeing is believing. I think R. Kelly, maybe not the best example, R. Kelly said, if I can see it, then I can believe it. You know what I mean? And then I can achieve it. So you have to show them these things, right? Even Gillian Anderson from the X-Files recently was talking about the Scully effect, whereas her being involved in the X-Files made more young girls want to get into that line of study, wanted to get into that line of work, forensics and all of that stuff. It was the same thing with Nichelle Nichols and Lieutenant Uhura, made more black women want to get into NASA, and space exam and space exploration and STEM. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is very important. But anyway, the hood comment struck a nerve with a lot of people online, and some even referencing how Jaleel played a gang member on the show named OGD, Original Gangster Dog. Okay? All right. Well, as usual, this is what happens. Too many of us in the black community have this tendency to want to shoot the messenger rather than listen to the message. So before they even get a chance to listen to the message, they want to shoot the messenger. It happens to me all the time, which is the reason why for some people, I'm a coon. For other people, I'm a token. It's just about me. Never mind the message that I try to come with. You know what I mean? And that's one of the more frustrating things about what I do here, because people, they go by the title of the videos, they go by my look, whatever the case may be, but they very rarely, when they have criticisms of what I'm saying, they very rarely listen to the message. They want to take shots at me without even contemplating on what I'm saying. You know what I mean? But you get a lot of people who are like that. It's not just me. So, I can't take it personally. It's just the way that people are. So this is the point that Jaleel is trying to make. He's just talking about the legacy of Family Matters and his legacy as Steve Urkel. And yeah, I do believe there's a lot to be said for his character, especially. You don't see too much emphasis put on black achievement. It seems like we talk about the soft bigotry of low expectations a lot these days, because it seems like the bar has been lowered so much, for young black kids these days. And they don't expect anything of them, except when we talk about race swapping, they tell kids the best you can do is aspire to be these white characters. You can't be your own. You can't find your truth in yourself. The best thing you can ever be is this white character. And so they do all of this race swapping and all of that stuff. They want you to say, listen, I aspire to be white Superman. I aspire to be white Little Mermaid, you know? And I think it's very, very sad because you do have these iconic characters who should be placed in their proper context. They should be remembered the right way. But that's me. That's me. I think what Steve Urkel or Jaleel White is saying is very, very true. I think that there's a push to make black people monolithic. I think that there's a push to see us as less than what we are. And unfortunately, he lived long enough to talk about his legacy. So a lot of people are pushing back on it. But I think that it's good. I think it's admirable that he's talking about what he meant to pop culture. You know, you see LL Cool J is doing the same thing. You know, he's talking about how he thinks that he is one of, if not the most important figure in hip hop history. And an argument could be made. But once again, when you talk about the greats of hip hop, Notorious B.I.G. and Pac, it's such a shame, guys. We really cheat each other out of that type of thing because, of course, those people are dead. LL Cool J is still here. Jaleel White is still here. Sometimes you have to celebrate these people while they're still with us. But anyway, guys, what do you think about Jaleel White's statements? You know, do you think that Family Matters is not remembered the right way because we put more of an emphasis on hood stories? You know, do you think he's full of himself? Do you think he's got a point? Get in the comment section, guys. Let me know. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe. YouTube, guys, does not like me. They hate me. I'm not feeling the love on YouTube. So if you love me, if you do care about me, you might want to consider hitting the super thanks feature on each and every one of my videos, as well as that like and subscribe and share and all of that. And for everyone who's done that, I really do appreciate you. I love you guys. Be careful out here. Be careful in these crazy drone-filled skies. Be careful during this holiday season. And I will catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.